Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 114 of Reading Between the Reels, the premiere podcast of Nicolas Cage's supposedly CGI abs. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and review us on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson alongside Justin Eldon. What's up, Justin? How we doing?
Oh, I'm just, pondering 2007's unrealistic expectations of the male form, with Nicolas Cage's CGI abs in this movie, which are not CGI, apparently.
Yeah.
So
that was the rumor, but apparently it's been disproven.
Unrealistic beauty standards. Just kidding.
So, Justin, what have you been watching this week? Are you still playing Minecraft?
No, that phase died out. I started watching Severance on Apple TV, and definitely not pirated. Yeah, that movie or that show is a ride. It's really well done, and you have no idea where it's going, like at all. It's like what Lost should have been, but then ultimately let me down. So yeah, I'm only I think 4 or 5 episodes into it, and it's good. It's good so far. I like it.
Yeah, and it's a good show to binge. So you're actually in a good place where because I did that too with the first season. I hadn't seen it and then watched a bunch, and it's nice to not have to wait every week.
Right? 2 seasons?
2, yeah, in the middle of the second season right now as we record here. I think there's been 6 episodes maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so it's nice to be able to not have to wait. Cool. Well, this would be the part of the show where I mentioned the fact that Gene Hackman passed away last week. Rest in peace. And it's kind of interesting that I had already kind of come around to like, hey, I really like Gene Hackman as an actor, and started just binging a bunch of his movies that I either hadn't seen or I hadn't seen in a long time. And, as a kid of the 80s, like he'll always be Lex Luthor to me. That's the first thing I ever saw him in, just because I was very young. But the man has an enormous body of work, and some of it's not great. So there's a lot of movies of his that I hadn't seen, and like I recently watched Welcome to Mooseport. Sorry, Corey. It's not a good film. That's his last film. It's not a good film. But a couple of things that I watched this last week that I hadn't seen Crimson Tide in forever, and loved that. Such a good film. Great performances by Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington, and like the supporting cast is full of people like Steve Zahn and Viggo Mortensen and James Gandolfini, and it's a really, really good film. And then I watched Mississippi Burning, which I had not seen, and amazing film based on a true story set in the 60s in the Deep South with lynchings, the KKK, and Gene Hackman and Willem Dafoe are FBI agents that are partnered up and go down and investigate, and amazing cast, great performances. And the older I get, the more I like dramas too. So it's pretty great. So it's not an easy watch, but it's a good watch.
Gotta be honest, I have not seen a lot of his films. Obviously Superman, but a lot of other stuff is just really not my time period.
Yeah, I may have to introduce you to some of those. Yeah. Did you see Unforgiven? Because that's like probably maybe his last great movie.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, he won Best Supporting Actor for that one. He won Best Supporting for that, and then he also won Best Actor for The French Connection, which is 1971, so it's older, but very good film.
That is one of those movies that I feel like everyone should probably see. Having not seen it myself, I feel like I should see it, is what I meant to say. So should everyone else. Yeah,
that and The Conversation's another one that's really, really good. And he's very different in both of those films. So anyway, we're not talking about that tonight. What, Justin, we've kind of alluded to what we're talking about, which is...
Oh, we didn't even say what we were talking about. I'm talking about unrealistic male body standards, and we haven't even said it. Obviously, when we're talking about unrealistic male body standards, we're talking about a Nicolas Cage movie, as everyone knows. Am I right? No, we're talking about 2007's Ghost Rider with Eva Longoria and Nicolas Cage.
Eva Mendes.
And, not Eva Longoria.
It's the other one.
The other one. Eva Mendes.
Anyway, what did you think about Ghost Rider, other than the abs?
Oh, I don't know.
It's not a great film.
it was a lot of like, this is better than I remember, and then a lot of like, this is worse than I remember, and then a lot of, now I remember why I don't remember this film.
Yeah,
it's very forgettable in a lot of ways. You can tell that the cinematography, they cared. They truly tried. It's like I think it's a well shot film.
Yeah.
But I find this with every Nicolas Cage film I can think of, and like maybe tell me a Nicolas Cage film this isn't true of, but like, is it a good movie? Is it a bad? Well, okay, National Treasure. That's the one. It's a good movie.
Yeah, that's true.
But every other Nicolas Cage film, I don't know. Is Nicolas Cage a good actor or a bad actor? I don't know. I don't understand. Anyway, just very confused all throughout. Overall, it's a bad movie, though, I'll say.
Yeah. It's a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that's probably fair. I love the site's critical consensus that says Ghost Rider is a sour mix of morose, glum histrionics amidst jokey puns and hammy dialogue.
Yeah.
Accurate.
It's like, let's plug and play Hero's Journey, but we're gonna add some fire to it. I think that's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed
probably
it.
Beat for beat the most accurate description of Hero's Journey or representation.
I do think this film falls under the so bad it's good. For me.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. It was fun. I think the concept of Ghost Rider is kind of an inherently silly concept anyway, and so I bought in. My other takeaway from this is, hey, after all of the the WandaVision hoopla, whatever about Mephisto, he's in this. We've had him the whole time.
Yeah. But nobody remembered. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like it was terrible. Yeah, I think this one needed to be like 10% worse to be it's so bad it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So like it wasn't quite there for me.
Yeah.
Which would have made it better if it was worse, if that makes sense.
Well,
like you could almost make fun of it.
Yeah, I had seen this a couple of times. I think I saw this in the theater, and I'd never seen the second one, which comes out 4 years later, and after the MCU is established. This is still pre-MCU, but then the second one somehow gets greenlit because this one was profitable. And that movie is absolute trash and makes this movie look like freaking Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
So
I remember seeing the second one. It was like one of the first movies my wife and I watched after we got married. I don't know why. I think I was just really into comic book movies or something. And I don't even remember anything about it other than Nicolas Cage does his Nicolas Cage stuff and goes crazy and wild and says weird stuff. And oh, man.
That's about it.
Again, Nicolas Cage. Don't know what's up with that dude.
There is some good stuff, though, you alluded to in this, and the way that it's shot. So let's talk about that. Like composition, camera work, color stuff. Is there some things that you wanted to call out specifically? Because I have a few things.
Yeah. Why don't you go first now?
Okay. So the biggest thing, and I sent a picture of this to you guys, and I will post this on our socials too, is that there is this shot when we see Eva Mendes for the first time as an adult, that character as an adult, where she's framed in shadow at the end of this tunnel that's into the stadium. It's like right before Nicolas Cage is going to do a jump. And the light behind her absolutely looks like angel wings. Like it is, when we've looked at it, like it is absolutely framed in such a way where, he's haunted by the devil. There's a line earlier, like, you got an angel looking out for you. Or maybe it's something worse or whatever. Like she is the symbolism of her being like his angel to redeem him is blatant. And I think it's actually a really beautiful shot.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good shot. I remember, so Craig had texted Corey and myself like a picture of that and basically said like, is this intentional? And I was like, I don't know if that's intentional. But then after watching the film again and watching how many other times characters are like specifically put in that composition where, they're in the center and then there's something on either side of the character to kind of showcase their emotions or their point of view or whatever, which happens several times with like the devil. Like there's fires or flames or horns or just red behind him. In rewatching that scene with Eva Mendes, like, yeah, absolutely, like that's got to be intentional. And it was a cool shot. Like it was interesting how they did it, and it wasn't as obvious as the other ones. But then again, she's not as obviously his angel as the devil is.
Ooh.
Literally the devil.
Okay.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting too. There's a couple other shots in the film, like they use low and high angles a lot, which I think when we talk to students about camera angles, that's almost like camera angles 101 if you want to like express power or like strength or size, I guess. Like you use those low angles. And yeah, the devil had a lot of those low angles. Ghost Rider, like when he was in his Ghost Rider form, not his Johnny Blaze form. Yeah, lots of low angles, lots of close-ups to show like the fierce intensity. And I think for the most part, it did a good job. Like if I have one praise for the movie, which I might just have one praise, it would be the camera angles and just like the very, very what's the word? Intentional composition of each scene. Like there was a lot of attention to detail put into that.
Yeah, and another thing that I liked, speaking of intentionality, and then being reminded that the fact that this is Mark Steven Johnson, this guy who directed Daredevil, is the one who made this film. Is we talked when we did that episode about how many shots there are, close up of eyes and transitions with eyes. This has one real big one where you go from young Johnny Blaze into the Nicolas Cage version, where there's this extreme close up on his eyes, and then it pulls all the way out so that you get to see the setup of the motorcycle stunt. I think that's a really great shot right before like that first time we see adult Johnny Blaze do something in action. So I think that's really really creative way to do that instead of having to go 6 years later or whatever. I thought this was kind of a cool transition.
Yeah, it's interesting that they did that because that was a really nice way of, I guess, showing the age and kind of showing where, I guess, his focus is in that time of his life. Because young Johnny Blaze, right, you had the focus was on the dad, on the girlfriend, and not so much on his show. But if you're showing like the reflection of his eyes is the show, that's where he is. Which kind of baffles me because I feel like there's a lot of other points in this film where it was just like straight exposition dump, like exposition vomit into the audience's face. But so much so that it's like, okay, I already got this aspect. Like we have the voiceover at the beginning by Sam Elliott.
Yes.
The Sam Elliott exposition dump, which I thought was cool. Like
at the beginning and
it was like it was like a cool sequence, but I don't think it was needed per se because it didn't really tell us anything that isn't told to us again by Sam Elliott, but to Nicolas Cage or to Johnny Blaze in the graveyard. So why are we doing that? Like, you know better. You've shown us that you know better. Stop it.
That's a good point. And a pretty natural transition into talking about sound. I just had, if you had to do exposition, it's nice to have Sam Elliott. It very much reminds me of The Big Lebowski, which he's one of the best parts of that film. But I think you're absolutely right. Like we do get that information later, or we didn't need it at all. Like they talk about the contract. Was it San Verganza? Vaganza, like multiple times. We didn't need that at the beginning. This is the story of the Ghost Rider. Like we don't need that. The devil shows up, offers a deal, and then it's 43 minutes later until he like transforms too. It's a long stinking time, but you can tell right away that that's a bad guy and he made a bad choice. So I didn't need any of that stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think any audience members are going to be like, wait, the devil makes deals? Like, how does that work? Like, we're all pretty familiar with the old stories. Yeah. Also, the devil sure does like crossroads, like dirt crossroads.
Yeah.
What is with that?
That's a thing. Have you not watched Supernatural? That's like a whole deal.
Well, no, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah.
I noticed when Johnny, sorry, I know we're talking about sound, but when Johnny like wrecks on his bike and he like comes across the devil while he's still young, it's dirt crossroads. So interesting.
That's got to be like a very old motif from lots of different sources that they're kind of tapping into.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the soundtrack of this film? Because I thought it was pretty good. It's who is it? Christopher Young, I believe, who we're going to talk about next week too. He did some work for Spider-Man 2, and he does the entire score for Spider-Man 3. Yeah, Christopher Young. I did like kind of the spaghetti western feel at the beginning, which is interesting. Like, they kind of did that with Punisher too. But there is a lot of Old West vibes with this. Clearly, Sam Elliott's characters. He's a full-on actual cowboy. But I thought that was kind of a cool origin to kind of put us in the mood for that.
Yeah, I liked that quite a bit. I feel like most of the cool soundtrack, though, like you said, came with Sam Elliott and his explanations of things, and it kind of just made me want that story, right?
The Sam Elliott origin story? Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to watch the Western Ghost Rider where it's not a motorcycle, it's a horse. Like
that would be fun.
That would be a cool movie. But like you said, it's kind of it's hard to take this movie seriously because the concept of Ghost Rider is kind of like silly to begin with, and even as a kid, I remember being like, "This is dumb. I don't like this." So I'm already coming into it with like my own personal bias, but I don't know if anyone really like the movie didn't do well. Like you said, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was awesome. I'm not as old as you. What is the song? That was mean. I'm sorry.
No,
the song that was at the end. It's like a famous rock song.
Oh yeah. What is that called? So let's see. Let me pull that. Oh, it's Ghost Riders in the Sky, right? Are you talking about that one? Yeah. Like Johnny Cash did a version. He didn't write it, but like his is probably the most famous one. This one is by a band called let me find it here, Spiderbait, and they actually do multiple songs. They're pretty versatile, actually. They do they do a song called Stadium Rock City, which is like right before he's Nicolas Cage is I'm gonna just call him Nicolas Cage because is he acting or just being himself? Gonna jump over the helicopters. That's them too.
Yeah, I thought that sounded really good. And
there's a good mix
really excited.
Of pop music and some instrumental stuff in this. Like I do, it's hilarious how they're using the Carpenters in this. That Superstar song, which Johnny's obsessed with the Carpenters, and it multiple time like calls his friend, "Hey, you're stepping on the Carpenters or stepping on Karen." When Donald Logue's character comes in, there is an instrumental track at the last time where teenage Johnny says goodbye to Roxanne. It's called "A Thing for Karen Carpenter." So there's this kind of through line with he's really into that, and it's kind of melancholy and along the same lines as a lot of the Carpenter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to hear. ZZ Top's Tush is in this. You got Ozzy Osbourne with Crazy Train and George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Who Do You Love? Johnny's coming after Roxanne. That's kind of fun. And the other track I like a lot it's called "The West Was Built on Legends," which is when the first transformation happens, like about halfway through the film. You kind of have this haunting choral thing happening in the strings, and that's a pretty good track, I think.
It was good, but it did seem a little bit unthematic, if that's a word.
It's not memorable. I couldn't tell you what the theme song to Ghost Rider was. No,
yeah, and it kind of just seemed all over the place too. So I don't feel like it used any one theme enough for you to go, oh yeah. That I remember that from earlier in the film. Like it wasn't.
Yeah,
it didn't stick in your head too much.
I will say that we've talked about this before, like with Doctor Doom and how kind of generic those sound effects were with the sounds that he's making. But I thought the sounds on this one I liked a lot, like the kind of the fiery crackle thing when he like his skin's like burning off, and then I really like the kind of the metal wrenching sound as the bike transforms. I think that was a really visceral and very effective sound.
Yeah, just like the fire in general, the fire looked really good for a 2007
Agreed.
movie. Like even for today, I thought it looked really great. Like the flames actually felt dangerous in that world, and like I guess this is more than just sound, but other actors reacted to the flames as if they could actually cause harm and not just part of his costume or whatever. When he speaks, when the Ghost Rider would speak. And during part of the transformation, and I kept like rewinding over and over and over, and then I had to put in like headphones. And I think there's like some furnace noises going on. Nice. I don't know how else to describe it, but it sounds like an old rusty furnace, like turning on when he lights up.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun. The chain itself sounded really good. Like it sounded like it had some weight to it as well. And then his motorcycle also was just sounds like it was powered by souls of the dead or something. I don't know. It was cool. Like it had like a cool, like gruff sound.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of the time though, unfortunately, because of the focus on the flames and the chain and his like leather, moving around like, and the motorcycle, if all that is happening and then Nicolas Cage, or Ghost Rider has a line of dialogue, he doesn't have any facial expressions, because it's just a flaming skull. So it's hard to hear those lines of dialogue, or I guess like get them to stand out because there's so many other things going on, and you're not always looking at his mouth moving as you would with like an actual actor on screen, because it's just not as interesting as having an actual actor on screen. So the greatness of the sound effects almost like drowns out the dialogue, which is unfortunate. Well, maybe not. The dialogue wasn't great, so maybe it's for the better.
Dude, you're just killing it with segues today, because that's where I want to go next. But I do want to point out, like on the sliding scale, like Nick Cage is leaning hard into the melodramatic thing with the completely unnecessary Southern accent, which he ditches in the second movie. It's just bad and distracting. But there were a couple of lines that I thought were for nothing that the Ghost Rider itself would say. Did you have anything at all that you were like, oh, okay, that's kind of a cool line, or? No.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I could. It's not a very deep movie. It wants to be a deep movie.
Yeah.
But it's just not.
Well, the hammy puns, right? Because that was the one that came out there where there's the caretaker that's Samuel L.'s character. You all right? Yeah, I'm good. I feel like my skull's on fire, but I'm good. I'm like, that's way too on the nose. That's just awful.
Some writer woke up in the middle of the night and was like, I got it. Guys, guess what?
Yeah.
Now, I have a hard time with Sam Elliott because he just sounds so cool. I'm pretty sure he could just like explain a flaming pile of crap and it would sound cool.
Yeah. So
he could say just about anything, and I'm like, oh, that's deep. But I do like the line. Okay, don't call me basics. It's literally the first thing on IMDb, but I like it anyway. It said that the West was built on legends, and that legends are a way of understanding things greater than ourselves. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of as a history teacher, kind of makes me think of like, kind of how people used to tell stories, and history thousands of years ago isn't what history is today in terms of factuality. It was more of a way of explaining the world around you and less making sure that it was accurate. So it's just it's a fun way of, I guess, explaining legends.
Yeah. Well, I'll pull out one more Sam Elliott line because I think it speaks to characterization, and it's right after Nick Cage comes back and like accepts his help, and he says, "Congratulations, your chances just went from none to slim." Like, I think that's kind of cool. And like, yeah, like we're still basically screwed, but there is not you did figure out at least that you need to listen to me, and this is before the reveal of who he actually is. So that's kind of fun. It's good.
But we all know, right? I know Nicolas Cage's character doesn't. Johnny Blaze doesn't know, but the audience all knows.
I mean, I think it's telegraphed. I mean, like, what's this old cowboy dude doing in the, in the cemetery and just hanging out there? I mean, we do see the grave of his character, and I guess that's kind of the misdirect or attempted misdirect. But yeah, it's pretty clear that you're not going to just have Sam Elliott being this for this guy that's going to show up for 5 minutes and talk to you in a graveyard.
Yeah, here's what I want. I want a sequel to Tombstone, but it's Sam Elliott's Ghost Rider.
Nice.
That. Or like a prequel to Cowboys and Aliens with Harrison Ford, but Sam Elliott's Ghost Rider. That's a prequel.
Need Corey to be here. He'd be connecting all those things with the fan theory. They're not the same.
I'm gonna write some fan fiction when we're done here. Give me a sec.
So is he the Ghost Rider when he shows up in Big Lebowski? Like, is he dead? Is that why no one else talks to him other than the dude? because they could be connected too. Because sometimes
Get
there's
Corey
a man.
on the line right now. Somebody connect these.
We'll have a guest appearance from Corey at the end. We get a voicemail we'll play with his thoughts on this film. I'm just looking at body language and like Nick Cage with body language. The biggest thing I had was like when he's trying to like make the Ghost Rider come out when he's in the mirror making weird faces and yelling. And that's I just imagine they just sat back. Hey Nick, just do your thing, and we'll just keep rolling, and something will end up in the film.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that most of Nicolas Cage's movies are okay. Everyone else, you act. Nick, you just be you as if you were here, and like we're just gonna film it, and that's what we'll put in the movie.
Yeah.
So we have. Speaking of acting, we have young Johnny Blaze, who's played by Matt Long, who I feel like plays a character, right?
Yeah.
He plays young Johnny Blaze. Nicolas Cage he's not playing Johnny Blaze. He's playing Nicolas Cage. It is not the same character as Matt
the young
Long.
guy's good.
Or maybe, yeah, the young guy's, well, I don't know if he's good, but he's
solid.
He's not Nicolas Cage.
No.
Like they had no like discussion prior to the film of like, well, let's make sure these two personalities line up just a little bit.
It's kind of like the
characters,
Shazam.
Not even the same person.
You know, that's one of the things they talk about in Shazam with Zachary Levi's playing a completely different character than, was it Asher Angel? I think he plays the younger one. Like, they're not the same guy.
Yeah.
This is another thing that I found interesting, and I didn't mind it. Like they give us, Nick Cage has a wig in this film, and they give him some blue contacts, and they don't do any of that in the second movie. Like that's Nicolas Cage's hairline, and they don't worry about the eye color. And
I think they should have just kept him with his hairline.
Yeah.
The wig just didn't look real. It was weird.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I did really like though is like Johnny's dad, like it's set in the 80s, and like, yes, his hair and his clothing, like that felt very 80s, and the music helps with that too. But like there's clearly, intent, and there's a lot of time they spent to try and get a certain look. It's just, it's a little bit odd seeing Nick Cage with that hair and those eyes.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of this movie, it's like there's obviously time, thought, and money that went into it, but it just, we said this about another movie, it's lesser than the sum of its parts, or less than the sum of its parts. It's just, it didn't come together to work out. And a lot of that, again, might just be because of it's Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do with that?
And yet it essentially doubles its money and warrants a sequel. Like, which... Whatever. Okay. I mean, Man of Steel never got a sequel, for crying out loud.
I mean, I think though this was full swing of like people were into superhero movies.
Yes.
I mean, this is like you said, right before the MCU comes out. People were going to go see this regardless. I think
we're just about a year.
Probably why I did so well.
Well, like 13, 14 months before Iron Man comes out, so we're getting right there. Anything else you want to talk about with performance before we move on to setting and design?
The romance between Eva Mendes and Nicolas Cage, it's like going to the DMV is more fun. Like what?
There's not a lot of chemistry there.
No chemistry. Like it was so slow, so boring. The younger couple that played those two characters, I thought had some chemistry, but
agreed.
It just, I wasn't buying it from either one of them. They both seemed like they were acting the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So this is.
Oh wait, no. I got more.
No? Go do it. Go for it.
Still talking about acting. The character that plays Mephisto. No, I'm sorry, Blackheart.
Yeah.
So Wes Bentley.
Yes.
Beth's brother in Yellowstone.
Yes.
Beth is just so
any opportunity to leave Kelly Riley alone.
You know, I hate her.
So Jamie Dutton.
She hurts my eyes.
He's in this film. He's in this film. Jamie Dutton, basically playing the same character.
He's
spoiled child. Yeah.
He's not scary. He just constantly looks like he's on the way to like a My Chemical Romance concert or something. Like, I'm not intimidated by this guy whatsoever.
He's not. Yeah, that is a weakness in this film, I would say.
Just a emo kid with daddy issues and gets a bunch of friends together from some like knockoff Mortal Kombat game to come help him take over the world or something. It's just all the villains in there are so forgettable. Which is kind of what Elektra suffered from as well, who has the same director, I believe.
No, that's Rob Bowman. He didn't. Rob Bowman did the spinoff for Elektra.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Mark Steven Johnson did Daredevil, but he didn't do Elektra. But was a producer on that. But he did that, and they did this. Okay, yeah. But your point still stands. The kind of a mixed bag of nothing really memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, that's all I had to say. I wanted to put my Beth hate in there.
Okay, so this is filmed primarily in Australia because I think that was a big trend there was for a while with the tax breaks and whatever. Some last minute stuff in Vancouver, but there are some things that I did like about this. I thought like the opening carnival was really well done. Like I could almost smell that. Like that just felt like an authentic carnival. I had to kind of chuckle when Blackheart, that's Jamie Dutton, Wes Bentley, when he recruits the Fallen Angels, he goes to a Hell's Angels bar, which is kind of funny that it's so on the nose. I don't know. I kind of like, again, that's the so bad it's good thing. Like, is that clever or is that lame because it's so obvious? Yeah, I don't know.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. I mean, some of the things I did like. So I'm trying to find the hidden gems in this. The Blazes trailer. I love how that's like wood paneling with the wallpaper and it's got a cassette tape rack. So some of the attention to detail on that was pretty great, as opposed to like Johnny's apartment, which is all books and motorcycles, and it's just random stuff. Feels very random.
Why does everyone have that same apartment? Like that same super open, exposed brick, elevator.
It's very popular.
Right into your door. It's just like, where are people finding these things?
Okay, but best prop in this movie by far though is the glass of jelly beans, because Johnny Blaze will not drink alcohol because it's scary. It's going to let the demons out or let the demons in, but they're red and yellow, which signifies fire. This is from Nicolas Cage, because it was his idea for Johnny to have a martini glass full of jelly beans.
What a visionary. That man is a gem.
Okay, just leave it in. We'll just keep rolling, Nick. Put it in there.
Yeah, it wasn't even a prop. He just came to set like that, and they're like, yeah, sure.
Leave it in.
Sit down, Nick. Sit on that leather couch.
All right, here's another cool thing that I found from research. So the motorcycle, which we talked about before, a lot of the design I really like with this is that the motorcycle is... it's a panhead chopper, and it was designed to evoke. It's based on the design of the Captain America chopper that's used in the movie Easy Rider by Peter Fonda, who's the guy who plays the devil in this. Because there is some nods to a much, much better movie, which supposedly I've never seen it. I need to. It's on my list. But yeah, so you have Peter Fonda in this. That's evoking another motorcycle movie. So they went a step farther and did the motorcycle that way.
There's no Stan Lee cameo. Sorry, completely out
is
of
there
left
no?
field there.
I don't think there is. You're right. No.
Now I'm wondering if he's in the audience somewhere. I feel like he could have been in there and I could have missed him.
Guys, if you find Stan Lee in this movie, if you watched it with us, let us know, because I don't remember seeing him either.
Yeah, there's a little Where's Waldo for you. Oh my goodness, that girl that Eva Mendes films is Rebel Wilson.
Yes. Yeah, so we're moving on down to characters. Yeah, Rebel Wilson is as
I'm
girl
sorry,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
alley.
I'm jumping around here.
No, that's perfect. Let's do that. Yeah, Rebel Wilson in this. Yeah, with the flame.
Okay, I thought she was doing a really, really good impression of Rebel Wilson before she was
Rebel
popular,
Wilson.
But no, she's actually... That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just looking through what we talked about Donald Logue briefly. He plays Mac. I like him in this quite a bit. He's Johnny Blaze's basically number 2. He was also in he was also in Blade.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he in Blade? So, darn.
Yeah.
Not in the same universe.
Yeah, well, and we also have Sam Elliott, who was in Hulk, so... But then again, we did this with Punisher,
I was a little sad about his death.
Oh, yeah.
Mac's death.
Brutal.
He's his BFF, and he kind of just, dies unceremoniously, and you don't ever even see Johnny address that, I don't think.
No, he comes in and he's like, Mac! And that's it. But there's no...
Yeah,
I avenge you or any of that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
something through. I think we talked about all the main. Brett Cullen, though, is the one who plays Barton Blaze, his dad. We've seen Brett Cullen in tons of stuff. Lost, which we've talked about before, and of course he's in Dark Knight Rises and lots of stuff. He's in Joker, right? He plays Thomas Wayne in that too. He's been in a lot of comic book stuff if you think about it. Yeah, I like him. He's a good actor. Okay. You talked a little bit about Hero's Journey. It kind of fits that. It's a little bit more of a redemption arc, I guess.
Kind of. It's like
it is. Yeah.
It's like a Mad Lib of Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
Wait, where doesn't it fit? You know Hero's Journey better than I do.
I mean, I think it does because it does. You have the death of the mentor with his dad pretty early on, and he tries to run from his. I mean, it's the biggest thing is he tries to run from his destiny like the whole time, right? And then he is kind of forced into it.
Yeah. So that transformation from I'm Johnny Blaze, I'm just a guy that doesn't really care, and I'm super cool, to I'm going to protect everyone now, and I'm going to use this power for good was like a pretty quick transformation.
Yeah, that's like, pretty weak.
Everyone's blood is my father's blood.
Yep.
Yeah, the character arc there is less of an arc and more of like a zoop, whoop. No, this is an audio podcast, so you could not see that. Yep. But yeah. Fair. Yeah, that was a little jarring.
As far as world building goes, I mean, other than the casting, which we talked about, I think that it's because it's so self-contained, it could easily fit within pre-MCU, and then you could bring him in later if you wanted to. Like, there's nothing that has happened in any of the other movies or anything happens in this movie that contradicts anything there. Yeah,
so a little bit of the issue here is like Ghost Rider is in the comics incredibly overpowered. Like, he's one of the strongest Marvel characters that exists.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't think this movie does a great job of showcasing that. Like, it never really, and I hate this about movies, I don't know if I've mentioned this on podcasts, but superhero movies where the hero's power is not well defined, because you don't know, like, what are the limits of this person? What can hurt this person? How does he hurt other people? Because, like, he got shot by a ton of bullets, which did nothing to him, but then he gets punched by the My Chemical Romance groupie, and that seemed to hurt him. But I'm like, why does a punch hurt him, but like bullets don't? Anyway, yeah. So I don't like that. So I feel like if you brought him into the MCU, you would have to define his powers a little bit, but also like crank him way down if he's gonna fit among the other heroes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At least way down from his comic book origins, not so much this movie's origins.
Yeah, and you'd have to, there had to be some kind of explanation from. He's so bizarre, so much different than everybody else. There would have to be there'd be one more exposition dump.
Yeah,
to explain.
I would have loved him as like a quick little cameo though, or in some Doctor Strange movie where he's multiverse jumping. That would have been awesome. I mean,
there was rumors that he was going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, that they tried to make that happen and behind the scenes, but yeah,
that would have been perfect.
I would have loved to have seen Deadpool interact with him.
Oh, dang it! Now I'm sad that didn't happen.
So we're going to transition to final thoughts, and we do it. We have a voicemail from Corey, so I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll respond to that and wrap this thing up.
Hey there, Craig and Justin. This is Corey, missing third wheel you guys been just waiting for. Hey, just wanted to give my review of this movie. I thought Ghost Rider was dated. It's dated, man. The story is kind of hokey, kind of cheesy. It worked for 2025. 2007, I wasn't a big deal on, wasn't a big fan of it. But 2025, and with everything Nicolas Cage is, I can't help but look back and laugh a little bit. So it's a very Nicolas Cage feeling movie. It does have some really good parts. The CGI, they must have run out of money getting ready for Iron Man because it does not quite hold up as well. I don't know what the scene was with the Ghost Riders running a horse and riding a motorcycle through the desert and catching a little lizard on fire. I can't help but feel like it could have been like a beer commercial or something. All right, man.
I like that scene.
It's not a bad show, but I'll tell you what is good. This podcast, huh? All right. See you guys soon.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Corey should be back next time, which, we do miss him, so it's good that he was able to drop in some thoughts there. Your final thoughts, though, Justin, on Ghost Rider. Anything we haven't already said?
I feel like we've done this with the last like 4 of these Marvel movies where you're just like, why? Why does this
exist?
Why does this exist?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it tried. It was a beautifully shot movie. Like the CGI in it was pretty good for the most part. A lot of the costume design was really cool. It mostly stayed true to the character, but it just, I think it's where it really falters is the antagonists. Like there isn't enough of a, I guess like tension between those two, or really like any sort of palpable problem. I don't know. Like it just didn't feel like it sucked me in at all. And I'll probably wait another 18 years before watching it again, like I did this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good movie. I like Nicolas Cage a lot, and I like a lot of bad Nicolas Cage a lot. So I have to kind of give it a pass, I guess.
But it wasn't enough bad Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think the biggest thing is the antagonist or lack thereof. We don't like. It would have been nice to have seen, and as much as it's kind of a cliche now to see, you fight your rival and they have basically matching power sets, and like that's how like virtually every every Marvel movie like in the MCU happened. Like the first couple phases, that's just what continually happened. But we don't really see that, which I think also would have helped define the power set and all that. But a lot of things I do like. I think that there's some really interesting shots in this. The music is really, really good, I think. But yeah, it's just kind of all over the place. It's just kind of a mess, which is what we're seeing a lot with these last few pre-MCU films, and we'll see next week as well.
Yeah, I think we didn't really mention this, but I feel like the editing was really sloppy too. Like you could have tightened it up. It could have been a solid like 20, 25 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have suffered a whole lot.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, random. Kick-Ass. That's a movie that Nicolas Cage does his Nicolas Cage thing, and he is awesome in that movie.
Okay.
As Big Daddy Wannabe Batman.
I've never seen that.
Have you seen that, Craig?
I have not.
Oh my goodness, that is a fantastic film.
I'll add that to the list. Well, and yeah, I was going to say, he's not really Nicolas Caging too much, but like Spider-Man Noir is another comic book thing, and supposedly there's a live action version of that coming to Amazon Prime, I believe, which I'm not sure how the rights would that work, but I love that character very much in Into the Spider-Verse, so I can use some more of that. Okay. Well, and as we close, we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com, or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, or subscribe, and review us on iTunes or Spotify. And as we kind of alluded to, our next episode will be a review of Spider-Man 3. Send us an email or voicemail about your favorite moments from Spider-Man 3, and we'll share it on the next episode.